Let me stress here, like I started, rumor mongering and propaganda almost killed our Delta Beyond fire. Of course, there was a rumor that I had mortgaged all the oil in Delta State and I had taken the money away. And so I was looking for a way of empowering our people through other means after selling all the oil. Whether that was true or not, a lot of our people believe this. Somehow, our people are very gullible. Very gullible. I'll tell you a few stories of the rumor mongering that did occur in Delta State. At the time I bought new buses, today we have bought close to 1,000 buses for our people. And why did we buy new buses? I actually started to buy brand new taxis. Because at the time in Delta, when you enter the vehicle, whether it's taxi or buses, when you look down, you'll be seeing the roads that you are driving through. I'm sure many of you know what I'm talking about. And so we decided that at least everybody should enter a new taxi or a new bus. So we started buying buses. And of course, when the issue of subsidy arose, the price of transportation went up. And we reduced, or we started subsidizing transportation in Delta. And today, anybody that enters a Delta bus pays 50% of the fare they're supposed to pay. The state pays the remaining 50%. In spite of all this, what happened? The story was that, oh, it was part of the money I had stolen abroad. I carried the money in Ghana was good. And I was walking on the street of London with the money in Ghana was good. So when police saw me, I just dodged to one corner and used the money to buy buses. You'll be surprised the level of places who believe this story. That somebody can carry money in Ghana was good. And I used to buy buses. But people believe it. And it took us quite some time. The valuable objective of the public transportation became something we have to start implementing. But looking back now, I'm happy we took the decision to buy those buses. Delta State, as many of you know, has a land area of 15,000 square kilometers, 60% of which is land and the remaining is water, with a coastline of 163 kilometers. We are a multi-ethnic group comprising the Yorubas, the Shekiris, Isoko, the Jaws, and Anyomas. Where the Anyoma includes Ndokwa, Ika, sometimes they don't agree that they are Anyomas. Commandant. This makes Delta a true repo state. We have a population of 4.8 million and a GDP of $6.7 billion as per 2010 and accounts for about 30% of Nigeria's crude oil production. The state is rich in other mineral resources such as silica, clay, kaolin, lignite, and so on. So in truth, Delta is rich and has diversity of natural resources, including arable land for productive cultivation of agriculture. What was lacking was that these resources were not being adequately harnessed. It was in my mind a critical missing factor in the state's economic prosperity strategy, and hence demanded strong efforts to change. In the years we have been in office, we have worked to focus and shift public investment into creating infrastructure that will attract business interest and create employment in these other sectors. We have invested in road construction across many areas of the state, deliberately in places where some of the aforementioned resources are deposited. Road construction, as you know, is in many respects a sunk cost which may not lead to immediate economic returns, but it can be an important infrastructure that will stimulate economic activity in an area. With that in mind, we have so far constructed over 1,100 kilometers of roads across the state. Let me just explain some of our philosophy in the construction of roads. You know, in an era like this, especially political era, many roads are constructed based on man no man, man no woman, based on friendship, relationship, political associates. You know what I mean? Just call it over. This construction roads like this. It's very common. But our philosophy, right from the word go, was that most of the roads we construct will have economic value. In the sense that our major roads, especially the ones traversing the states, we must explain why we are constructing such roads. The 169 kilometer road we are constructing between Ugeyi and Asaba, for instance, to connect Warri and Asaba. We are doing it because we want to connect the port in Warri to the very big market in Onitsha, passing through Asaba. You know, what we did was first of all to discuss with a group called the Amata, the Onitsha Market Traders Association, and we asked them, why are you bringing importing all your goods through Lagos port? And they said, Luna, you say, Warri port get many problems. I said, what problems do we have in Warri port? First, the cost of importing goods to Warri port is very expensive because of custom, police, and all other human beings or regulatory bodies. And of course, the road between Warri and Onitsha, which passes through Asaba, is very narrow, so many lorries cannot pass through. And so, we try to deal with the issue of the regulatory bodies by talking to their bosses, and also try to construct, to not overline that road, which is 169 kilometers. It's a federal route, but we are taking it so that the Onitsha market traders, who are the greatest importers or the highest importers in Nigeria, instead of using a Lagos port in which they have to bring their goods through Ore, and it takes them 2 or 3 days, they can import their goods through the Warri port, and within 2 hours, they are in Onitsha. That's what I mean by economic reasons for constructing our roads. We have also tried to open some rural roads to areas in which there are a lot of agricultural activities. And so, when we decide to construct a road, we usually want to see the economic reason for constructing that road. That does not mean that there are not some social roads. There are some social roads we also construct. You know, no matter how strict you want to be, there must also always be man or man sometimes. Our other area of focus is energy, and that is power. And in this sector, we have invested heavily in the National Independent Power Plant, in the unbundled generational companies, and of course, distribution companies. And by the end of this year, we should commission our own state independent power plant, which hopefully we should privatize the spirit of government, not running business. The other state in the foreseeable future should be energy sufficient to support domestic household demands and for industrial use. Now, I need to say that for Nigeria to be industrialized, for us to go forward, power is very important. I'm happy that Mr. President is taking the issue of power seriously. In fact, just this morning, there's a conference that's still ongoing in the villa on power issues. A lot of investors have come across the world on the issue of investment. And for us in Delta, we recognize early enough that we have to invest in power. We did it in 2 ways. First is to work with the federal government. We paid about 15.7 billion naira on the national independent power plants that are being constructed by the federal government. And one is right there in Delta State. About 10 of them across the country, and a lot of them have been completed. And also, diagram has three arms or three legs, whatever we want to look at it. We have the generation part, we have the distribution part, and we have the distribution part. The generation and distribution are being privatized, but the transmission is still with federal government, of course, working with private firms directly. And so, for the distribution, for the generation, in which we have two power plants in Delta, the Uwele power plant and the Sapele power plant, we invested with private sector to purchase those two power plants. The Uwele power plant is currently producing or generating less than 200 megawatts, but it has an installed capacity of about 1,020 megawatts. Sapele power plant has a installed capacity of 980 megawatts, but generates also less than 150 megawatts. Hopefully, working with those private investors, we'll be able to come back to the installed capacity of these two power plants. And the combined capacity of these two power plants is about 2,000 megawatts. Like I said, right now, they're generating less than 300 megawatts. We did that because we do know that if there's an improved generation by these power plants, Deltas will benefit from it. The second aspect is the distribution arm. We belong to what they call the Benin distribution zone, which covers Delta, Edo, and Ondo. We invested in that one because power, as of now, in our rural communities, should be a social service. The private investors will not allow social programs. So what we did was, let us invest in it. Whatever you get by collecting money from people in the urban areas and the companies, and the state government gets its share of the profits, we use it to subsidize power for those in the rural communities. So that is the strategy we are using, so that when this power is really fully in place, our rural people will not need to pay the same tariff as is being paid in the urban areas or being paid in the industries. We did this because we know that with power, the sky is the limit in terms of development of both our rural and our urban communities. And then as a state, we also are constructing a national independent power plant, which is a modular plant, starting with 120 megawatts. Hopefully, we can get it up to 450 megawatts. But, like we do know, government-run power plants usually have challenges. So, by the time we are finishing, we're also going to prioritize our own power plants. We have also invested heavily in the rail transportation, especially in airport development. We are about finishing the Asaba airport, which today is easily one of the best airports in Nigeria. We are building another airport at Osubi in Warri to cater to the oil industry, as well as other industrial activities going on in the area. You may ask, why will the state government embark on two airports? Well, like I said, Delta is a very complex state. If you do on one side, you don't know on the other side. Very well. If you know Delta very well, there are two axes which we have designated as growth poles or industrial areas. One is the Asaba axis, taking advantage of the Onitsha market. Of course, you know that the market is the biggest market, not just in Nigeria but in Africa. And a lot of economic activities go on in the Onitsha market. So we took particular advantage of that market to designate Asaba as an economic hub for Delta. That is why we established that airport. Of course, when I started that airport, the first attack was from those people in what I call the Delta, South, and Central, where they have an airport already, Usubi Airport, but which has a very short runway, 2 kilometers, so only small place coming. And the question was, why would you go and be building an airport in Asaba when we have another one here that explained that I had challenges with Shell on that airport because Shell would not allow me to extend the runway. Of course, they will not listen, but I continued because I knew what I was doing as a man was the right thing to do. While battling with Shell for over 3 years, and at the end of the day, they still refused to allow us to extend that runway. We now acquired land very close to the Shell one to construct a longer runway of about 4 kilometers. And we have started that project. So at the end of the day, Delta will have 2 airports, the Asaba Airport and the Subi Airport. Both of them can take any plane, any size of plane, because the runways are adequate for any plane that is available.